Yo, from the new Signal Flow Studios, you are now listening to the Featured Presentation Podcast, where I interview the featured artists on my newest song. Who am I, you might ask? Well, I am singer, songwriter, rapper, producer ZuP from Cleveland, Ohio. I've been in the Cleveland music scene for what feels like forever, and my most recent album, For Me, won Scene Magazine's Best Local Album of 2023. But enough about me. Today we are here to talk about a unplugged, tiny desk version of a song from the aforementioned album For Me. The song is called Recharge. It is produced by me and Brad Pewitt, and this new version features the band and this beautiful and amazingly talented individual across from me. Make some noise and put your hands together for Jurbz.
Whoa! I was like, it feels sacrilegious to do it for myself, but hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. How are you today?
I'm so good. It's been a good Monday.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to complain about yet.
That's true.
We'll see how this goes. Then you can ask me.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you at the end, off camera, of course, because this is going to go terrible.
Of course.
So for the people that might not know who you are, let them know and tell us about Jurbz.
Okay, well, my name is Jurbz. I co-host a local music podcast called LoCle Grown with my best friend, Jordan Laird. Been working in the music scene for probably about 5 years now. We've been doing the podcast for 5 years. We started on WBWC, The Sting, 88.3. And then about 2 years ago, moved to the podcast world. I kind of got the boot from the radio station since Jordan was alumni. She was like, hey, you're not really paying to be here anymore with tuition, so can you kind of get out of here?
Yeah.
Respectfully, nicely, we still love you.
Right.
But yeah, so we do that. I sing a little bit, collaborate a little bit with.
You sing?
Just a tiny bit.
I had no idea.
Just a little bit. We should do something together.
We should totally do something.
That would be really cool.
I'm so glad you came on today.
Yeah.
Because I would never have known that.
You would have never known. It's my little secret. But yeah, so I sing. I've been doing that for a little while. And then I manage one of the artists in Cleveland, DJ Hoovy.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, that's a more recent thing. Shout out Hoovy.
Hoovy, baby, let's go.
Come on, Hoovy. But yeah, so that's a little bit about who I am, I guess.
So singing and music, that's been something you've always loved, as a little kid growing up?
Absolutely. So me and Jordan grew up, we were next door neighbors. So I was 5 and she was 8 when she moved in. We grew up playing music together. She had the piano at her house and I had the guitars at my house. So she taught me how to play piano and I taught her how to play guitar. So yeah, we just grew up playing together. And then I got music in my family and my blood. My uncle used to play with Willie Nelson. So that's my one flex that I always that I like to bring up. I've got a couple pictures of him in my at my grandma's house that she took. That's one of her
That's crazy.
Oh yeah, very, very cool. I have a picture of it. I'll show you later.
Yeah.
And then my uncle is Noah Buchanan.
Shout out to Noah.
One of the best recording engineers, in my opinion, in the Cleveland music scene.
One of the greatest Cleveland hardcore bands, Solipsis. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
That was the first hardcore show I ever went to.
Was it really?
Oh yeah, and I was right up front. And everybody was behind me just moshing and shit.
Yeah.
I was just in the safe realm. But I was like, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. And then I went to a ton of hardcore shows after that, but Solipsis popped my cherry for sure.
Oh yeah, well it's so funny because I'll bring his name up and the people who know, you know what I mean? But I feel a lot of that's in the heavy metalcore scene, and you were one of the first people that I brought that up to, and you were like, no way.
I know, I couldn't believe it.
And I was it was just a very, very well respected individual in the music scene. So
Absolutely.
Getting to say that I'm his niece makes me feel cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was definitely trying to keep my composure and make myself seem maybe I'm could be somewhere well respectable one day that. So thank you. But yeah, so. Yeah, but so I play guitar, a little bit of piano, a little bit of cajon, ukulele, and then sing. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Ukulele,
just a little bit though. It's I'm not really good at anything, but I can pick up a tune on,
That's a good trait to have though, to be able to, especially when you're in the studio creating or whatever it is, you can always just pick something up and that ukulele right there.
Oh my gosh! Wow, what a coincidence! On top of a piano.
Right? Yeah. Just switch right there.
Right.
So I'm assuming that your love for music and everything is why you and Jordan decided to do the radio show.
Absolutely, yeah. So Jordan actually started LoCle Grown by herself, and I think she did maybe like 2 episodes by herself, and then she was like, I don't think like she's like, I need somebody else to do it. And I was like, I didn't go to college. I like graduated, just went right into the workforce. I didn't go to school because I didn't know what I wanted to go to school for. Like growing up, I was always like, oh, like I want to be a musician. And then I was like, well, like I could sing, but I don't think I'm good enough to go like sell arenas out. You know what I mean? Right. So I was like, you know, I wanted to do something in the music scene, but I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. So I'm happy that I skipped that because LoCle Grown, I'll always be so grateful for LG because it gave me an opportunity to figure out what I wanted to do, which is booking, and I like the back end stuff. Yeah. So Jordan's like mainly like the more personality, I would say, on the show. And if she was right here, she would yell at me for saying that. But she mainly like holds the interview, and I'm mostly there for like, I'd say like the one hitters, the one liners, like, you know what I mean. But I love doing all the back end stuff. So like all of the artists that come on, I do all the booking for that. And yeah.
And that's super cool, too. So, like, just to go in a little bit more depth of your podcast, you have all these local Cleveland musicians, and are they all Cleveland or just, like, Northeast Ohio?
Northeast Ohio. We've had people from, like, Youngstown, Columbus. We might have had somebody from, like, Toledo, maybe. But, you know, mainly just, you know, Cleveland repped, but, like, everywhere can be locally grown, you know?
Right. So you guys just, like, that's just got to be the coolest thing for somebody that loves music to, you know, because I'm sure you knew some of these people that are going to be on your show and stuff, but then there's probably also a handful of people you don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
So, like, you're learning along with the audience, too, which I think is sweet. Like, that, what a sweet gig to have because you know, man, I love music. Now I get to discover all these other musicians and at the same time, like, get them out to a wider audience, too.
Right. Yeah, and I think we talk about this all the time. The people that, like, are our friends that come in, they're our homies. We just know that it's going to be chaos and it's going to be funny and, you know... But the people that we don't know that come in, those always end up being, like, no shade to our friends or the people that we know, those always end up being, like, the most, not surprising, but, like, we're just like, oh, my God. Because, like, beforehand, we're like, oh, my gosh, like, I wonder how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Because some people aren't really talkative. And I feel like we haven't really gotten that much on the podcast in the last, like, 2 years. But definitely had people come on in the radio scene and just very, very, and it's okay no matter how you are, but you'd have to do a little bit more, like, polling. You know what I mean?
Right.
And haven't really gotten a lot of that in the podcast realm, but I mean, just like the ones that were just like, how's it going to go? Always end up being some of the best interviews. Like, I think awesome. The more recent one that I'll just say was like Claire Furine had like, I mean, we knew who she was, but like I'd never met her in person. And like, I think that was probably one of the ones like probably ended up staying later too.
Yeah.
It's like the 2-hour session turns into like a 6-hour session and we're just like kicking it, whatever. But yeah, it's definitely a beautiful thing just to like be a part of, you know, and that's kind of how LoCle Grown started. Was Jordan was like, I always wanted to do this like show that, you know, was able to give a spotlight to the local music scene, but selfishly, I also want to see people like perform their music in front of me.
Yeah,
you know, and it's supposed to be like a stripped down, more intimate style performance. It kind of makes it different than what you would usually do, and like maybe you can only get that like version or something like on our show. So I think that's kind of what maybe differs us from other local music podcasts or music podcasts in general, is the fact that it's like supposed to be like an NPR Tiny Desk style of what that would be.
And I love that too. I love that. And that's like me personally, the type of performance that like makes me uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
So I was like shitting myself before I went on with you guys because I was like, man, I got to sit in the room with just you two and then Rich. And I'm like that's like,
oh, it could be like super scary.
Yeah, I'd much rather be in front of like millions of people.
Absolutely.
That
yeah.
I feel more comfortable than like just two people, you know. But you guys make it so easy, it's like just to be comfortable and stuff. It was nothing. I had nothing to be worried about.
Oh, dang it! That's so not what we were trying to do. Was make you feel comfortable.
Damn it! Actually, the funny story is my guitar player at the time. I don't know if you remember this. He like overslept.
Oh, yeah.
We practiced this whole thing, and it was like real, like we were really happy with it, and then he overslept, and we just did those two songs, just me and Rich. I mean, it came out fine, but...
Oh, yeah, no, it sounded great.
Oh, man. Anyways...
you should go listen to that episode. You have to finish this one first.
Yeah, finish this left episode, and then definitely go check out the LoCle Grown podcast, please.
Just ZuP specifically. But,
Yeah,
you know.
yes. It's back. It's back a little bit.
It's back a little bit, but
August of 23.
yeah, wow.
It's crazy.
Almost a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
It's
damn.
wild.
Did you? So I'm assuming when you guys were on the radio, it was live. Mm-hmm. You much like the newer version of the podcast?
Absolutely. I mean, like, I have a sailor's mouth, which I probably should have asked you before. Can I cuss on
yeah.
this?
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, cool. But yeah, like, I have a sailor's mouth, so being able to just, like, cuss whenever I want to, and I probably do it way too much now, that's a huge thing. Also being able to, like, drink, I mean, but like not even that, talk about, I mean, like Cleveland Whiskey is like a loose sponsor, I would say, for LoCle Grown. We don't have anything like signed, but like they give us bottles of whiskey and we talk about them, which is a great sponsorship.
For sure.
You know, but we wouldn't be able to talk about anything like that. Like there's no alcohol, drugs, like anything like that. You know, that you can't, there's FDC guidelines, you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, there's just a lot more room for opportunity. And also selfishly just being able to talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about, you know.
What time were you guys on when you did it?
I think it was 9 to 11. Tuesdays from 9 to 11.
At night or in the morning?
At night.
Okay. Right.
At night, yeah. And like the funny thing about that is like I know that people listened to it, but because it was on the radio and that radio station was so old, they moved since then, since we had left. But you would never know how many people were listening, you know, because we would be like, call in and ask about this or like whatever, and like sometimes the phone would ring, but sometimes it wouldn't, you know.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I wonder how, and I'm sure we definitely had people listening, but just like is anybody out there?
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, no, I miss that too, like, but it's been very fun to just kind of like do whatever you want, having your own space to create whatever you want whenever you want. You know, we're at Rock and Roll City Studios right now, which is super cool. Shout out Rock and Roll City.
Man, that place looks so great now.
Oh yeah.
I mean, back in the day, it was still great back in the day. I mean, but now it is like holy shit.
Yeah, it was like dirty rock and roll, and it still is, but it's just, you know, got a little bit of a nicer bow on it. Yeah. If you go on Google Earth and look at Rock and Roll City Studios, it's from like 10 years ago. Yeah. So if you're curious on what it used to look like, you can curious.
But yeah, it looks really nice. That was the first time I saw it when I went to go do your guys' podcast, and then I was like, holy shit, like walking around the halls, and then obviously your guys' room is incredible. You guys did such a good job. It's just a great space.
Yeah, there's like, I mean, just all those rooms in there are just like black walls and like barely any lights. We're like, how can we not make it feel like that? Just like, like a dark room. There's no windows in any of the rooms either.
Right.
We got a couple people like bring us plants, and I'm like, I'm going to take this home with me. This cannot live here. And they're like, why? And I'm like,
because there's nothing.
There's not a singular.
Right.
Not a singular. The LED light bulb is not gonna feed it.
Maybe. No.
Yeah. No, but like all the white walls in there, like me and Jordan have said, we haven't told Mark or Brian yet. So Mark or Brian, if you're listening to this is our wonderful idea. That they should get like local painters in there and to paint all of the walls, because it's just white walls down
in the
the
hallways
hallway.
you're talking about. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Like that'd be so cool. Get Scuff Mixon in there. You know.
Hell yeah.
So.
I love that guy.
But yeah.
This just popped in my head when you were talking about the podcast opposed to the radio and stuff. Would you guys ever be opposed to doing like a live show? Like, you know how Guiltless podcast sometimes he'll go out and do like live things. Would you guys like ever do that? Like, I guess not so much like here it is, we're recording this live and now we're putting it on streaming, like,
but just a show.
But like actually like live where like people can like chat with you, like a Twitch type thing.
Oh, okay.
Like
I don't know if we've like talked about doing like a style like that. We actually did do a live podcast recording at Crowbar. This was like because we waited for that studio at Rock and Roll City for like 8 months. Like basically like had everything signed, but it's new construction, you know. And before that, I think we went about a year in between different locations with people saying that they were kind of going to like help us out in some way, shape or another, and then they didn't. So that's why we inevitably went with something that we would have control over by ourselves. But in that like middle time, we're like, what do we do? You know, like we did LoCle Grown from home for a while, and like during COVID, and it's like, you know, that's kind of like over and done with when you can be in spaces now again. But yeah, we did one at Crowbar with Dragon and Corey Michaels.
Okay.
And so that was recorded and put out. But yeah, it was, I'm a like terrible public speaker though. I really don't like public speaking. Like,
because you're in front of people and that,
yes,
like,
exactly. Yeah. I'll sing on stage. So like, I don't really understand that. I don't think I have to.
I'm the same way. A terrible public speaker.
Like we just hosted a show at Beachland with Wish Queen. Shout out Wish Queen. Yeah. And Jordan's like, come up here and like introduce the acts with me. And I was like, no, like I'm good.
You got this.
I'm good. But yeah, no, I think that would be totally fun though. I mean, I would like to be just like the stagehand probably, because once again, just like I don't understand the dynamic of it. I really don't. But
actually, now that you were talking about it, I remember listening to, was it the beginning of one of your seasons where you like did like a marathon sort of, where it was like you just like kept guest after guest after guest or whatever.
So that started on the radio. So the Sting does a local summer marathon series. So every last Thursday of like the season of the summer, they do 18-hour marathons. So usually it's like Sublime or Red Hot Chili Peppers, like somebody with a catalog that can fill 18 hours, you know? But so Jordan was like, why don't we do one for LoCle Grown? And so the first one that we did was 9 and 9. So you had 9 artists that were, that we had in the studio. And then, cause this was also during COVID too. And then so like the even hours, artists would come in, and then on the odd hours, we would talk about or feature music from somebody that like was from Cleveland or made it out of Cleveland. So like, you know, Kid Cudi, you know, surrounding area, 21 Pilots, something like that.
Cool.
Which was, you know, a safe way to do it because we could, you know, clean everything down, all that jazz. And then the next year, Jordan was like, well, how do you want to do it? And I was like, well, fuck it. Let's just like go balls to the wall and let's get 16 artists in on it. So we did that with 45 minutes. We gave ourselves 2 hours to like eat and like get some sun on our skin.
Yeah.
You know,
touch some grass.
But yeah, so for 16 hours with 2 in between, had bands in, and it was 45 minutes, 15-minute flips, and that was like a crazy day. But it was so successful. Like it was like that was like the smoothest thing ever. Next year after that was when the studio actually moved. So I mean that takes like 3 months of planning too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So much back and forth. You're also trying to figure out like a nice flow, so you're not going from like heavy metal artist to like a singer-songwriter. You know. Planning that out for months, and then I think like a week before we had got the message saying that the studio was moved and that we were unable to use the Sting for our marathon, and I was like, sick nasty. This is super convenient. So we ended up doing that actually at the Cambridge Room at the House of Blues. Yep. So that was the turnaround on that was wild. We literally had 48 hours to go rent all of the equipment, like figure out how we were going to do it in the space that we did, and like thankfully we had some really amazing people working with us and helping with us, and shout out Amax Music because they let us rent a shit ton of equipment for like $100, and then once you return the equipment you get your $100 back.
Oh damn.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That is wild.
So yeah, if you ever need anything, make sure you hit up Amax Music. But yeah, so we did that, and then last 2 years the marathon inevitably turned into LoCle Grown Live. So that was LG5 this year for our 5-year anniversary, and then last year we did the fundraiser.
Beautiful.
So yeah, in a long roundabout way, yes, the marathons are like the marathons are like I think probably one of the most important things to me though, because it's like that really showed me how to like, and I don't know, just do events kind of,
right?
You know what I mean? And that's something that I've always wanted to do, but being able to like have a space where it's like, hey, it's kind of like a free for all. You can kind of like do whatever you want, have whoever you want, and they've always been pretty successful.
Hell yeah!
Knock on wood.
I just love that you discovered something that you love from another thing that you love. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
like
absolutely.
you were just like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I like focusing on and stuff. And it was all just because of something else. Related.
It's so funny. Like I told Jordan, because Jordan's like the crier. I don't know if you know this or not, or if everybody's ever told you this. Okay, Jordan Laird is a huge emotional person in the best way.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a big crier. She cries at everything. And so we were celebrating our 5-year anniversary, and we had like a little like kickback at our studio, and I'm like, I'm so thankful. And she's like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, why aren't you crying? Like, why am I crying right now? Like, I'm not the crier. But it's, I mean, like, and I know that it's just as important to her too, but just for me, like, it's been able to be like the one thing that I'm like super passionate about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes me kind of feel like I was like also like doing something consecutively for 5 years, like fucking cool.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Hell yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, good. I love that.
Thank you.
So let's talk about how we met.
Okay, come on.
So, you know, the people that listen to my podcast are probably sick of me like telling the story. Not really telling the story, but like saying what I'm about to say right now. So when I came back from taking a break, that's what I always say.
Yes.
But when I came back to music after taking years off or whatever, you know, I was kind of trying to like, you know, piece everything together. Like, what's going on? What's happening? Have you ever seen the movie American Gangster with Denzel Washington? He like plays like Frank White, and he goes to jail. Spoiler alert: he goes to jail, and at the end of the movie, he comes out of jail like however many years later, 20 years later, I don't know, whatever. And he like walks out of jail, and he's looking, and the whole world is different to him now, you know, like, and he's like that's how I felt. Like I'm like, what is this? What are reels? What is this? What is that? Mm-hmm. Which is funny to say because my life revolves around reels now. But
Right.
Anyways, so like trying to like figure stuff out, what's new in the scene, who's doing what or whatever, you know. And somebody, I don't remember who it was, but somebody that I knew was on the podcast, right? So I was like, oh. So I started checking out your podcast, and I started seeing other people that I knew, you know what I mean? So I would like listen to those. Then I was like, oh, this is such a great thing, because now I can like learn about people I don't know about, you know?
Right,
so it's
right.
kind of like a history book for me, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
So
like
then,
Yellow Pages.
Yeah, Yellow Pages. There you go. Was that your first name? The first name was Cleveland Yellow Pages.
It was, yeah.
Nah,
actually.
we'll just go locally grown.
Yeah, it's still trademarked though, so you can't take that.
Yeah, dude, no, that's yeah. So, you know, I started following you guys online, or on like Instagram, you and Jordan, and yeah, it was the 420 show at the Beachland Tavern, and that was like, I thought it was the first time RC3 ever DJ'd, but we found out after I told the story before on the podcast. It wasn't. It was the second time. But
Close enough.
I think it was James's show, or somebody threw it, and James was on it, and he asked me to perform with him, and that was my first time back on stage like in 6 years. Like my album release party was the following week, but that was like technically my first time back on stage. And then that's when I met Janari, I met Quasi, you know, I met all these people, and I met you there. And I think we started talking, and, you know, I said I knew your uncle or whatever, and then, or you, somehow I
we
knew
made that connection, yeah.
Yeah, and then, I was like, oh, I got this album release party coming out. Oh, that's why I had flyers, and I gave you a flyer, and you came out to the album release party at the Foundry.
I did. I think I went by myself.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because that was, I think that might have, I don't know if that was the first time that I was at the Foundry, but that place was shoulder to shoulder. Packed.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And I stood in line, and I was like, I'm gonna need a drink. And I think I waited like 30 minutes for a drink, and I was like, what do you want? And I was like, well, give me 2 High Lifes, and they were like the tall boy cans, and 2 shots of Jameson, because I'm not coming back here. And I like walked around, and everyone's like, oh, who's the drink for? And I'm like, they're out for me.
And I think I saw you for like 1 second. Like it was like, hey, oh my God, thanks for coming. All right. And then that was it. Right. Never saw you again.
Yep.
That's how it was for like everybody that night. But
yeah, what a huge, like, awesome night.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite shows, if not just because of what it meant to me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and just like the support, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But so I appreciate you coming out to that, and then you were like, oh yeah, you should be on the podcast or whatever. And I think I went and I filled out the little form, and you're like, you didn't have to do that, but I like filled it out anyways. But yeah, so obviously, you know, came on the podcast, brought RC3 with me or whatever. Yep. And at that time, I wasn't 100% sure. Like, I didn't know. Like, my album was still kind of fresh. And I was like, are people really going to like this? What am I going to do going forward? Like, I just wanted to put the album out because I needed to put it out, like, for me, which is why I needed it for me.
Right.
So, but, you know, Rich had so much energy and so much, like, passion and stuff, when, you know, I was like, I want this dude to come with me everywhere I go, because I want him to be like, I want him to experience this stuff too, you know, because I didn't know what his path was going to lead him or whatever. And now look, this motherfucker, he's doing it, man.
I know, he really is.
So anyways, so yeah, we did that. And then, I, you know, just like following you guys and coming to shows and stuff like that. And that's when I saw you and Jordan, I think a video of you and Jordan singing or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, the two of them are, what the fuck? These two are incredible. And it was like anytime, like if I would be scrolling and I would see you guys on stage, I would like go right back and I'd be like, I got to hear this. I got to listen to this or whatever.
Aww.
It's just so good. You guys are just so good. And
Appreciate it.
I like, you know, in the back of my mind, I was like, Jurbz will sound really good on Recharge. So I know I told you this story, so we'll go into Recharge.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to like do a little sidestep. Remember what I just said about Jurbz on Recharge. We'll get back to that. So Recharge, this was a song that I wrote like in the moment of like pure like sadness, you know? So it was like, you know, every song on my album or any song that I like write that has some kind of meaning to it, which I like to think I try to make every song have some kind of meaning to it, you know? Usually comes from a place that has already happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like Recharge was like the song that I wrote like while I was going through it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like
real-time therapy almost.
Yeah. And it's like one of those songs that like to this day, like sometimes you're talking about Jordan being a crier or whatever. I'm definitely an emotional person. And sometimes I'll listen to that song and I'll get like choked up and I'm like, why am I getting choked up over this? Because I wrote this song. Like I shouldn't be getting choked up over this. But I like think back to that time and I think back of like how it helped me, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was like, I remember telling my therapist, I'm like, I wrote this song. I just recorded it. And like, I don't need to see you today because like this song did it for me. You know
Hell
what I mean?
yeah.
And, but yeah, it was just, it was like, you know, not typical, but like, I feel like people, when they write a breakup song or whatever, it's just like a breakup song. But like in this case, it was kind of like a breakup song of having like the rug pulled out from underneath you. Like I was in a relationship. It was like my first, like serious relationship since my divorce. And I was married for like 8 years. Mm-hmm. So I took some time off, you know, found myself and all this stuff. And then got into a relationship and I kind of had my walls up for like most of the time at the beginning, right? And then I just like dropped them like full force, right? And it was just like, yeah, the relationship just kind of ended where it was like, yeah, you're really great, but yeah, this ain't for me, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like out of nowhere for me, so it just kind of like, it really fucked me up for a while. So I wanted to write a song about that, where it was just kind of like these things of not like a fuck you relationship or like I'm super depressed relationship. It's just kind of like or like, what do I do? What do I do now? Mm-hmm. You know, like everything this past like year or whatever, I had this routine of stuff, and it's like, how do I get out of this routine without? I don't have a reason to hate you. I don't have a reason to be pissed off at myself or whatever the case is. Like everything's fine. So it's like, how do you deal with that? And that's kind of what this was.
It's like different feelings than maybe like what you're used to or like just like previous situations.
Yeah. And I don't usually like break down lyrics on this podcast, but like, you know, like the first verse, the whole like drove past your house and saw the TV glowing or whatever. Like, I guess I just kind of thought about that as, you know, we're not together anymore, but everyone's life is just going on. Like, you're still in your house watching TV like you normally do or whatever, and like now my weekends are just lacking your perfume. Like, that's like what's happening here. Like, it's how do we just get used to like living our lives? How do I get used to living my life in a different way or whatever? And I don't know, it just really helped me a lot with it.
Still got a whole lot of healing to do.
That's right, yeah. So that's kind of like, I wrote that too, where it was like, all right, well, I'm okay. Everything's fine. Like I said, wasn't a bad breakup, but I still feel like I got to heal from this. Like, just because it was like a cool, like, shake hands, everything's fine, good luck with your life type of breakup, still sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I was just kind of one of those things. Like, I'm just gonna take a step back, just recharge my batteries, man. Like, I just need to like get my shit back, and everything's fine. Just let me like relax for a little bit, you know.
And I think with that song too, like my favorite types of songs, I guess, is like something with like it doesn't sound exactly how it feels necessarily. Like maybe that's like a point in your life when, you know, obviously going through a breakup, sad, dealing with it in real time. But that song doesn't sound sad necessarily,
right,
to me at least. You know what I mean? I'm not like, I don't listen to it. I'm like, oh, like I'm just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that kind of that like beautiful balance of like sadness, but also like kind of more like, I don't know if it's like I don't know if uplifting is the right word, but like just the beat or like the tone of the song, it doesn't feel like something I would personally like cry to. It feels like more beautiful. Like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it does. Because I sent, are you hip to like Submit Hub?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so there's this website. It's called Submit Hub.
Is this like what you submit your music to like put it on, like where they put
like
on like
playlists and stuff? Yeah. But they like, there's a bunch of different sites out there. Some sites, they'll just put anything on there, right? Mm-hmm. So like when my album came out, I submitted my album to all these people, and they all put like 90% of the playlist put the very first song from my album on their playlist, which is like a voicemail from my mom, and it's like 15 seconds long.
What?
And I'm like, you motherfuckers didn't even listen to this shit? They just like, and I'm like, oh my God, why is Jackie intro on this? Why is Jackie intro on this? I was like so pissed. So Submit Hub though, they will go through the shit. Like everybody, like all the curators have their own specific thing they're looking for. And you kind of like put what it is. So like, you know, I guess I submitted this song and I said like sad song, breakup song, kind of R&B, kind of whatever. Right. Mm-hmm. And I got denied from all the playlists, and they were like, this isn't sad enough. Like, this isn't sad enough for my sad playlist. Like, this is too sad for my middle ground playlist, like all these things or whatever. But like, you're right. I submitted to a lot of sad playlists, and they all turned me down, said I wasn't that sad. I'm like, fuck you. I mean, I'm sad for me.
I'm pretty fucking sad about it, so.
Well, now I'm sad.
Run back to the therapist.
Yeah. But no, you're kind of right though, because when I first started working on this song, I was hanging out with my friend Gemma, and she sings like kind of like folky music and stuff, and she wanted me to sit down with my MPC with her and like kind of like work on something she was writing for. And I discovered that night that my MPC can like play different chords on the piano, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know I could like do majors and minors and stuff like that, right? So the next day I was messing around with it, and that's when I made the recharge beat, and it was like just like drum the entire time. Just like constant like drum throughout the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And it really made it like upbeat with that. And I had all the synths and stuff like that, and I guess I kind of wrote it with that aspect of it being like sadder lyrics over not such a sad beat, you know? Mm-hmm. And then I kept listening to it, and I sent it to a couple friends. And, you know, at one point when I had my lyrics, I had like my echoes, like, how you feel, like how I do that. I had that after every single bar. It was like way too much. Uh-huh. And my buddy was like, you got to take all that shit out. And I'm glad he did, because it makes such a difference. But anyways, it was just like, it's like, I don't know if I like those drums, whatever. So my engineer at the time, Brad, I sat down and I was like, I want like some kind of guitar on here. And I sent him a reference to like some song that I liked. And he went in and he played these guitars on there. And I was like, that like changed the whole mood. I was like, yes, this is perfect. I'm like, I feel like if you take the drums out, makes you pay attention more to the lyrics and stuff. And it makes it feel like more whatever, you know? Mm-hmm. And then just kind of like build it up later and add more drums and stuff. And I love it. I think it worked out.
Oh, yeah,
great. Brad
absolutely.
did a good job on that. And it's crazy, too, about this song. This is how much this song means to me, is because, like, my old music, like, people that knew me, like, back in the day, like, party rapper, you know what I mean? Like, made party songs about drinking, all this shit, you know. Sometimes they'd make, like, a serious song, but, like, you know. And then here I am making this, like, super soft singing song, and I made it the second song on my album. Like, hey, I haven't released shit in 10 years. Here's this new album.
But
and the
it
second
worked.
song, you know what I mean?
But it worked, yeah.
But I was like so, I don't want to say confident in it, but I was just kind of like, this song has to be on here. Like
Yeah,
I knew
absolutely.
going into like, I had this thing where we kind of like listened to all the songs at the end of the process and was like, all right, what needs to go? What needs to stay? Everything ended up staying. But that one was like this is not going. Like, I don't care what you say.
Yeah,
this
doesn't
needs
matter,
to be on
yeah.
there. And yeah, so I was just like, fuck it. I'm just going balls out. I'm putting this in my second song.
I feel like we might have like loosely talked about that before. I don't know if I knew like the actual backstory of that song, but like to be a part of this now and like something that you're so proud of, like honored, like thank you so much.
No.
Like no, it's like it's so cool. It's just
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Going back to what brought me into this though was, and I talked to you about this when we were filming the video. The more I listened to Recharge, I was like, I think I want a female voice on this second verse or whatever, you know. And I reached out to a couple people. I won't name them, but got left on red. But it was okay because I was just some random guy, you know. I didn't have any music out at this time, and besides my old stuff, and you know, I didn't really. My old shit is a lot different than my new stuff, and it wasn't like, here, trust me by listening to this old shit. The song called "Drunken Sunburnt." Go
right?
listen to
From,
that.
like 10 years ago.
Yeah. But and like I said, my Instagram was just like all old shit. You know, I totally understand why nobody would like give it the time of day. You know what I mean? But I just always loved that idea. I always kind of wanted to like you know, like I admire people like Neo or like The Dream or like people that like write music for other artists that can still sing and do all the stuff too, you know? And I'm like, I don't know. Always love the idea of somebody else like singing something that I wrote, you know? So, but I'm like, well, it ain't gonna happen. You know, I'm running out of time. We're just gonna ship it out. I mean, I wrote this from my perspective anyway, so that's what it is. But circling back around, then I heard you singing and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, Jurbz just sounded really great on Recharge.
And you know what it was too? It might have been you seeing like us like play or something, but I remember specifically you sliding up on the song that I'm with, the second one that I did with Uncle Sam, Ramblin', and you were like, "Is this you?" And I was like, "Yeah, it is." And then
yes, because you introduced me to him at one of the Crowbar shows. It was probably was it a locally grown show?
I don't know. I don't think it was a LoCle Grown show.
Because I was at
it
the
might have been.
I was at the big long one last year.
So it could have been. So many shows.
I know.
So many
and
shows.
so many Crowbar shows.
Right.
But yeah, you introduced me to him, and then I looked up the song I had on my phone, so I listened to it when I was driving, and I was like, "This is you." By the way, I played that for Chris DiCola when we were here like a few weeks ago, and he's like, "Yo, what the fuck?" I was like, "Yeah, man, what do you hear on Recharge?"
If Chris DiCola says it, that makes me feel really
Hell
good.
yeah, hell yeah. Capital C, D-I, capital C. Oh.
Come on. No Pepsi.
Come on.
No Pepsi.
So so I reached out to you and I was like, I have this idea. I want to do this like unplugged thing. Like we'll probably do it in the summertime and we're going to dress it up like Christmas or whatever. But like, would you be interested in like doing this verse? And you were like, hell yeah.
Fuck, yes.
And I was still super appreciative of that. Then that kind of just like fell through because I got super busy. But, you know, I had the Saucy Brewworks beer release show and I was
So
like,
fun.
oh, this could be like perfect, you know? And you came out and you did practice with us and stuff, which I appreciate because that can be crazy sometimes. You see us at practice.
It's
We
so
get a little
fun.
sidetracked.
See, like, I used to not have any, like, girlfriends. Like, I was always just, like, the girl that always kicked it with all the guys. So, like, going to, like, band practice, like, it's so fun to me. You know what I mean?
It is fun. I mean, we do have fun at band practice. Like I text you today, we have fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like, just let me come back and hang out for this another one, you know?
Sure you don't want me to sing on this one? But yeah, you came to
I think there was two of them.
Yeah.
There's one at the old Signal Flow and then one at Jack's.
Yeah. Yeah, so we did that, and then we performed at Saucy Brewworks, and it was great. And, you know, people don't really get the full effect at a show, I mean, it's like boom, boom, here, gone, it's over with. You know what I mean?
Wasn't that show for the beer release? Wasn't that the first one that they did in that new?
Yeah, no, it was the second one.
Second one.
They
Okay.
did a band called Grave. They did a show there. Like,
Okay.
They were the beer release right before me. That was fun though.
Yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah. Greg did a good job with the cameras
Oh
on that
yeah,
one too.
and Jordan like made it very specific. I was like, "How'd I do?" And she's like, "You did great." You want to know something funny though? And I was like, "Oh God, like what?" And like, you know how he had like the different angles like with the cameras like set up. When I went up to go grab the mic, that specific camera right in front of the mic, I like got so close to it, so it was like literally just like a close up of my face for like 10 seconds.
Oh, that's great.
I was like, "Does anybody have a recording?"
I know. I
of
was about
that?
to say, I wish Greg had those recorded. He didn't record any of those. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, we were trying to figure out a way, like, because we were gonna build a stage, so we weren't like ground level, because it's it's hard to see in the back.
Right.
But we're like, we got this giant ass screen, and Greg was like, why don't we just run cameras to it and like.
And he did that.
Out.
Oh, he did that very well.
Yeah.
Shout out Greg.
Shout out Greg.
Come on, Greg.
Come on, Greg. But yeah, so we did that, and then still in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to do this, like this song obviously like feels wintry to me. I don't want to say Christmassy, but like it feels wintry because I wrote it in the winter, and then obviously the lyrics about the Christmas lights and the Christmas ales. But I think it was like Christmas of 2023 when I was like, man, we should do like an unplugged of this. And then, that's when I reached out to you, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, as this year has been going on and stuff, I'm like, there ain't no way this is going to happen. It's not going to happen, whatever. I've been releasing a song every 2 months, and my November song wasn't ready yet to be released. So I was just like, all right, well, my next song is going to be my January song or whatever. And we were at practice, and Greg just kind of dropped it on the whole band. He's like, we could still do that recharge thing. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, we don't have enough time to do that, because I'm like a planner. Like, I need like months in advance to like plan everything out and like think about it a million times and see if it's a good idea. He's like, why not? We got enough time, dude. We got enough time. And he like counted how many weeks. I was like, oh my God, that's like not enough time. So that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to reach out to different people. Like Signal Flow was one of them, and then like the Foundry was another one, and then my buddy Jim that runs Audio Alchemy Studios. And I reached out to him previously. It might have actually been when I was thinking about doing this originally. I was like, how do you feel about doing like an unplugged type thing where you're just like, we got cameras set up and you can record us? And he's like, oh, I would love to do that. Like, that's like kind of what I want to do, because like I have the space to like record live bands and everything, but like my goal is to eventually turn it into something like that. I was like, oh, perfect.
Well,
I'll be your guinea pig.
Yeah, super nice.
So then, nothing happened. He was probably like, oh, well, here you go. This motherfucker, just talking shit again. And then I just hit him up out of nowhere. I'm like, hey, can you still do this? And like, can we do this before December? And then he said, whatever that was, November 13th or whatever that date was. Ran it by all you guys. Everybody said yes. And then had our practices and stuff. And Greg and I, we went out there and kind of like got the lay of the land. How do we want to shoot this? How do we want this? Move the couch over this way, whatever. And then, he got his buddy Tommy G involved from Trees Are Talking, and they filmed it, and I thought it went really good.
Oh my gosh, no, it was so great.
Of course, my voice was acting up that day. I was like, oh my God, this always happens. But
it didn't sound like it, at least on...
Thank God for tuning, Jake Pastor tuned that up real nice.
Well, I think mine was also like a little like I think it was because we did that on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just Friday night, Saturday night, going out, probably just little horse. Had my my medicine ball and then my two little things of Fireball with me.
Yeah, that's right.
So
you sounded great on that.
And same to you. But like it was like it was just a great experience. Like everyone in the band, so fun. You know what I mean? Like great time. And just a beautiful setup. Got to it's
Decorate.
also, so I just moved, right? So I just moved, and then I'm like temporarily staying with Jordan, and they're going to South Africa for a month. So they're going to come back. I mean, they're leaving like next week and they're coming back January 3rd. So she's like, hey, just so you know, we're not like decorating for Christmas,
Right.
but like if you want to, you can.
Yeah.
So
AKA decorate for Christmas.
yeah. So like I've got a little tree I'll put up there or whatever.
Perfect.
So I felt like that was kind of like my decorating for Christmas though. So
Yeah.
you know, so I got to do that. But yeah, no, I'm so excited to see like the final and like the little snippet too that you said about. So yeah, like what a great time.
Yeah, no, it was great, and that was fun just being able to decorate and everything. Christmas is like my holiday. Like I love that. Like growing up, that was just always my holiday. And when Greg was like, I think I want to decorate stockings with the band, I was like, good luck. These motherfuckers aren't gonna want to do that shit. Because anytime, you know, Greg comes up with an idea to like film for something, everybody's like always rolling their eyes. You know, like I think we did like it was like a sour gummy worm. One of them had like jalapeno or something spicy in it, but it was like a roulette. So like, you didn't know which one.
Right.
And everybody was like, oh my God, you know, but we ended up having a blast. So it's always fun. I love those guys. You would think by watching the reels that we don't actually practice. Because we're always doing other ridiculous shit, but we practice.
So wait, okay, so did Greg make these like gummy, what was this gummy
So they
thing?
were like Sour Patch like ropes.
Okay.
And I forget, it was like a Reaper pepper.
Oh.
And it was like Reaper pepper roulette, I think is what it was called.
Okay.
So a couple of them had this Reaper pepper in it or something like that. Or ghost pepper or one of those. And so like you were to eat it and, you know, you would know as you're eating it, oh shit, this is hot. But it actually wasn't that hot. Like the hot one, because of course I got it.
Of course.
And it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, see, like if you guys are doing that at band practice again, like let me know.
Yeah, for sure.
Come.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking at that reel today. Were you there when the dog was there? Mm-mm. I was like, I don't think Jurbz was there for the dog. She was probably like, where the fuck is this? Yeah, the dog was upstairs.
I know. I was a little upset that I left before the dog came down.
Sorry, I guess you're gonna come back. Yeah,
you know exactly.
Yeah,
golden retriever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like come on. Now.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong
with a Goldie.
But yeah. So, anyways, it was fun, and I'm just glad you're just a part of this whole process. It all worked out great, and I couldn't like imagine anybody else being on this song. And like I put today, like this to me is like definitive version. Like this is what I want people to listen to, you know?
I appreciate, and like I just appreciate the opportunity. Like I know I texted you this after we recorded it. Like I went so many years, like, you know, when I moved to Cleveland, and that's like right around the time that LoCle Grown started and all of that, like we were playing shows a little bit and we were gigging, and then like COVID happened and I was writing so much, and like we did an EP together, and I was like working with Easy Living Culture and like writing with like the rappers, and like there was like such a time in my life where like music was like I was really, really doing it, but just to do it, not expecting anything out of it. But then I went through like a few years of just like terrible writer's block. And like I would talk to some people and they'd be like, yeah, like you'll get out of it. And then I would talk to some people and they'd be like, that's a lie. Like writer's block like isn't a thing. And I was like, okay, well like maybe I've just like written everything that I kind of have to like talk about. And then this year, like a couple beautiful things, you know, happened this year, but this year honestly wasn't the best for me personally.
Yeah.
But started writing again. And so, you know what I mean?
That.
But being able to collaborate with like just the couple of times that I have with amazing individuals like yourself, like means so much to me, because it's kind of like brought me back to that like original feeling of like when I started really like doing it. So,
because it feels good to like, even though like this is something I wrote, it still feels good to like collaborate, like you say,
absolutely.
And sit down and do something fun like that, where it just sparks that creativity and sparks that drive or that push or whatever.
And it's so funny too, because like you had texted me that originally, whenever that was, and you were like, hey, I have this idea, like would you be down? And I was like, fuck yeah. And then we did the saucy thing, and then you text me and you're like, hey, so like do you remember that like one time that like I told you about that idea, like we kind of want to do that? I'm like, fuck yeah, like let's do it. So yeah, just it's been super cool to just like watch that vision come to life, you know what I mean? So
I'm glad it's finally done. And Greg was right, that motherfucker. I hate saying he's right.
What was he right about?
That we did
it.
That
we should do it. Yeah.
We got it done and all that stuff, and it worked out, because now I have like
slip like a piece of paper of you saying that in his stocking. Just be like, you were right Oh, he'll love that, I feel like.
Yeah, I'll slip it in the stocking from the video shoot that he
Exactly.
doesn't have anymore. So we'll never see it. Greg, you motherfucker.
Just know he did it, though. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm glad that you're back to writing. And, like, to go back about the writer's block thing, like, that's for sure a thing. But you made a good point, though. Like, maybe it's writer's block because you might have said everything you could at that time. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the worst music I've written is music that I've forced myself to write because I felt like I had to write something or whatever the case was. And I'll go back and I'll listen to it and I'm like, this is garbage because there's no life in this. It's just forced.
Right.
So I had a period of time, like after my first album, I recorded like 5 songs that will never see the light of day because that's what it was. They were just like forced. Oh, I need to have a song like this. I got to write a song like this. I need to do this. And, yeah, it's so much better when, you know, unfortunately, a lot of musicians need shitty stuff to happen for them to feel creative or to get that spark to write stuff. But I guess that's kind of the beautiful thing about it too, is because you're
also therapy. Yeah, like
you're taking
all of the things.
Yeah, you're taking this terrible thing and you're just like making it into something beautiful to help other people or help yourself. Like Recharge helped me, you know.
Yeah, and I'm very much like a balanced type of person. Everything kind of happens. Even if it doesn't make sense in the moment, I think everything happens for a reason. But like,
Absolutely.
you know, went through some really shitty stuff this year. Like 2024 was, you know, once again, always thankful for something. But yeah, it was like really fucking shitty a lot this year. But that's when, like, you know, right about July, I think, was when I was like, the third friend died this year. And I was like, oh my God, can we stop, please?
Yeah,
can we all? No, I was like, we're not doing this anymore. I love all of you guys, but no one's doing this. Okay?
Yeah, we're done.
No, we're all living. Okay.
Yep.
And if you know me, I deal with my shit and my dark humor. So, but yeah, no, like that just like fucking broke me this summer.
Oh, I bet.
But
and I'm sorry that happened.
That's okay. But the songs, like, and it doesn't make that better. You know what I mean? Like, would I rather things be different? Absolutely.
Yep.
But I wrote like fucking like 10 songs. And like usually I'm like a think about it type of writer. Like I want to sit there and I want to think about it. I can't freestyle. I can't write like that.
Right.
But when a song just like rips like that, you know what I mean? Those are always like my best ones.
Yeah.
And that was happening like every time I was sitting down and I was writing, and I was like, well. Mm-hmm. I finally have something to fucking say, don't I? So, you know, I mean, but, you know, going back to what you're saying, though, like, that's therapy, you know? So, like, you know, going through shitty things, but being able to, like, have an outlet, like, very thankful for that's kind of, you know, being able to be used to my whatever, again, you know? So, because I don't go to therapy, but I should, so...
I love therapy.
Just tell my notebook instead.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. So. And
I mean, I spend most of my therapy sessions bitching about music. So I mean, like, what am I?
It's like the balance of that too.
You know,
and then you spend all of your music sessions bitching about your therapist. I'm kidding.
Right? Yeah. Well, I'm just making a therapist diss album. I actually asked her too. I asked my therapist. I'm like, do you have any other like clients that are like musicians or anything? She's like, no. I'm like, oh, you probably love this shit, because I'm like
right.
always telling her all this stuff, and she's always like super interested.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, she definitely loves it, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, therapy, I'm a huge therapy advocate. I will tell everybody to go to therapy because I feel like everybody should, you know.
Oh, I definitely should.
And I know people that are totally fine but would probably still benefit from therapy too.
Yeah.
It's good to talk to somebody because they're a professional, and 2, they like have no relation to your life.
No bias, yeah.
Exactly. So like you can just be straight up honest with them, and they can be straight up honest with you with the professionalism too.
Right, and like not gonna like hurt your feelings because, well, I mean, they might, but like not in that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where it's like feels like it's biased, you know, or whatever.
It's like, you know, you bitch about something and then they go, well, you are an asshole. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're right. I guess I am being an asshole. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you got to hear that shit.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's like, you know, you're trying to figure something out and it's right there. Like it's literally right in front of you and you just can't see it because you're looking at everything else. And then they're like, well, what about this right here?
Right,
and then you're like, oh my God, like it was right there this whole time. And it like pisses you off because it's like, the fuck am I paying you for? It's right there. I should have saw this, you know, but that's why you're paying them, because they're
sometimes
not blocked by that shit.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I should go to therapy. But honestly, kind of inspiring.
It is. Therapy's fun. I mean, I enjoy it. Sometimes I got nothing. Actually, it's funny when you were talking about guests that you didn't know that end up being like really great people on the podcast. Everything, I always think about this, but it went right back to therapy for me, where it was like all of the sessions I go into where I'm like, I got nothing to talk about. This is going to be a stupid session. I should just cancel this session today. Always ends up being the best session. Yeah. Like I leave like...
Don't know how much you need it or in that moment.
Yeah, like I leave mind blown. Like, you know, if I come in and I'm like, I don't know what to talk about. Then she'll be like, well, let's talk about this. And it's like, oh, yeah.
I forgot that was a thing.
Right. Yeah, there's sometimes she'll bring shit up and I'm like, oh, fuck, I told you that? Like, yeah, okay.
Must have been down bad that day.
Yeah, damn, all right, I guess we could talk about that. You sure you don't want to listen about this show that I decided?
Yeah, right. You sure don't want to just, like, hear my new tape I just dropped?
Hey, yo, I just dropped this diss song. Well, actually, I can't play you that one.
Not the therapist diss song.
Yeah, volume 3. Right. After every session, I just go to the studio and just rip my therapist a new one.
That's like a terribly great, terribly great idea.
Oh, please don't steal that. Somebody out there is going to steal that now.
It's already been trademarked.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah.
Because this is coming out after we record, right? You know what I mean?
Correct. We got plenty of time. So don't
even think about it.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
And when you hear the disses, you're going to be thankful you weren't that guy.
Exactly. Because we're dissing that guy too. We're dissing.
When I come after my therapist, man, I come hard. But anyways, so thank you for being a part of this whole process, being a part of this journey, and thank you for just like being you and caring so much about the scene, because that's, here I go again. Back in the day when I was doing music and shit, I would have loved for like somebody like you and Jordan and stuff to be in the scene to like help people out. There were people like that, don't get me wrong, but just now it's just a beautiful thing to see how much you put on for people, because I know you've got some people on your podcast that probably nobody else would ever put on their podcast because of they might not be the best, and then you got people on the podcast that are super talented that nobody would ever know about if it wasn't for that. It's everybody. You guys like don't discriminate. You put everybody on there. I mean, shit, you put me on there. So,
stop it.
So I speaking from everybody, I appreciate you guys. It's an awesome thing, and I hope that you guys can do it for as long as you want to do it.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's like just honored to be able to do that in the capacity that we do, because as much as like people will sit there and be like, oh, like thank you so much, or you do so much, it's like you're like, this is also like inspiring us, and you know what I mean. At that same time, it's all about just like bridging the gap and uplifting our community and showing love and appreciation where it's due. And if you don't listen to local music, you should do that. Yes. I saw this video today. It was MGMT, when apparently, I did not know this, they were originally called The Management, and it was in 2003, and they were playing in somebody's backyard. And they were playing, why can't I think of the song?
Yeah, I've
had 2 beers, and I'm like, dun, dun, dun. But it's like, have you seen that video? It's absolutely wild, and it's like just somebody in their backyard,
because nobody cared.
No, like because everyone was loving it, but they were performing it like it was a karaoke song. You know what I mean? And apparently, too, I don't know if this is true or not. This was on TikTok, so don't kill me if I'm wrong.
That's got to be real then.
Yeah, right. But like somebody commented, and they were like, you know that they like started making like funny disco music as like a joke, and then like this blew up. So like they were literally like, they're not taking it seriously at all, but everybody's in the crowd like fucking loving it. You know what I mean? It's like somebody commented, and they were like, could you imagine being there like at that time, like before this blew up, or even imagine being the cameraman in this like situation? Right. So it's like, and then somebody else commented, and they're like, if you go to your local shows, like that could be you someday. You know what I mean?
For
like
real.
Go support local artists. And it's not, don't do it for that reason, but go to a local show, find a new band you like, support people, love people. That's all I have for you.
It's great. That's why I love when people come out to my shows when I'm on different types of shows with different artists.
Absolutely.
Because they're always like, oh my God, that one guy was so great, or this person was so good, or whatever. And it's like, good. This is why I wanted you to be here.
Right.
Not just because I wanted you to support me, but I want you to just support these other people, you know?
Yeah. And like some people be like, oh, like I don't know anybody on the bill. Like, why would I want to go? And it's like, I'll never understand that
Me neither.
personally. But you know, you never know.
Yeah. That's why you want to go, because you don't know the people on the bill.
Right. Learn some new music, meet new friends.
That's right.
Make connections.
That's right.
All that jazz.
Go to a 420 show. Next thing you know, you're doing a podcast.
You know, you sing and recharge.
You're singing recharge. Well, before we go, is there anything... Oh, yeah, I wanted to say this, too. I'm so happy that you're writing music again. I hope that means that we can hear more music from you.
It might.
Okay, I like that. Okay.
I'm thinking about it.
Okay, all right.
I'm dancing. I'm, you know, the pot's like not simmering, but like she's warming up. She's warming up a little bit.
And then you'll be cooking.
And then I'll be cooking.
There you go.
Exactly.
I like that. I'm sorry that, you know, this year did suck for you, though, but, you know.
Got to find the beauty in everything.
I'm glad you can.
It's all about balance.
Exactly. Okay, before we wrap things up, is there anything that you want to pitch or like anything else you want to say?
Honestly, the only thing that I really have to pitch is LoCle Grown at this time, and this wonderful, amazing collaboration.
Hell
so
yeah.
if you haven't seen the video, go watch that. And then after you do that, just follow LoCle Grown. We'll be doing season 5 of the podcast. They'll be dropping in February.
Ooh.
So yeah, we're taking a little break. As I said, Jordan's going to South Africa. I'll be dog sitting for a while, and then we're also just taking a break just to take a fucking break too, because like, yeah, just like come rejuvenate. We always do like an end of the year meeting.
Recharge, if you will.
Yes, recharge. Oh, yeah, we're hitting a little recharge, but yeah, we'll be back with season 5. If you're a local artist and you want to showcase your music or just chat with us or whatever, you know where to find. Well, you don't know where to find us, but now you do. Locally Grown, LOCLE Grown.
There you go.
Shoot us a message.
And Hoovy. How's that going? Like,
oh my gosh, it's great. He's like one of my best friends. So he was like, hey, like, do you want to like just like help me like do things? I was like, absolutely. So yeah, no, it's great. I mean, just kind of like honestly, I feel like I don't really do much, but I'm, you know, just helping out wherever I can. And
for sure.
You know, I think just like a woman's touch on like men being really unorganized is like goes a long way though too. Like he was like, because he's got his music that he's working on, and so we went through all of the tracks, and I basically created like a organizational system of like what the track's called, where potentially you see it going, what phase it's at, all of that jazz. And it's all like, and it's color coordinated.
Oh man.
And it looks so nice. And he was like, I would have never thought about this. And I'm like, woman's touch,
right,
you know what I mean? So yeah, no, it's just like fun bringing, because I like the organizational type of stuff. Once again, the back end, all that jazz. So kind of just like more so like doing some of that. But yeah, no, it's been great.
Awesome.
It's been a lot of fun. Yeah. Go check out DJ Hoovy, because he's really, really freaking good.
Hell yeah.
That's my pitch. That's my pitch as a manager.
I love it. Perfect. Where can they find you on the socials?
Me personally?
Yeah, unless you don't want them.
That's okay. You can find me at Jurbz, JURBZZZ.
And if you listen to the Locally Grown podcast, there's a couple episodes why they talk about the handles and.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. So you have to listen to that. You won't get that full scoop here. I can't give that to you here. Can't give it to you here. But yeah, listen to Locally Grown. Follow Hoovy, and yeah, maybe I'll drop something next year. That'd be crazy.
I'm all about that.
But you gotta stay tuned.
Well, thank you so much for being here. This is going to be the final episode of 2024.
Woo!
So
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. And like she said, check her out. Make sure you check out Recharge, the video, the song on streaming, and yeah, that's all I got.
And you watched this.
And you watched this, so I can't even tell you to watch this. But thank you so much for listening or watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
year.
I'll see you next year. Hey, baby.
Happy holidays.